We're going to start off with reading of the minutes. I call on Vice Chair Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I have read through the minutes. I did not find anything that was out of order, so I am going to make the motion that they be approved.
All right, I got a motion. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We have one person to speak. Is that person here? All right, come on up, Mr. Fee. It's okay. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I haven't done this in a little while, so forgive me, I might be a little rusty. But all kidding aside, my name's Matt Fee. I live on Winding Branch Drive in Christiana. Tonight, I would like to ask this committee to use its influence on our county lobbyist to advocate on behalf of the 22,000 people in Rutherford County who have lost access to their food assistance through no fault of their own. These are not just numbers. These are real families, children, seniors, and working people who are already stretched thin by the rising cost of groceries, rent, and utilities. And they can't afford the $25,000 price tag to eat steak with Mayor Carr and the same legislators who voted to cut SNAP funding and raise health insurance costs this past summer. Please request that Mr. Denami lobby the governor to call a special session as soon as possible to deploy resources to fill the gaps in our most vulnerable communities. Instead of deploying the National Guard in Memphis, we should be using the billions of dollars that the state has in reserves to provide emergency funding to food banks and finding ways to get the word out to these communities on where to find relief. And not spending it on trips to Asia to recruit more businesses to Tennessee so they can pay unlivable wages and give them incentives to do it. Finally, I call on my fellow citizens of Rutherford County, give where you can, in time, donations, or advocacy, to Nourish Food Bank or any local food bank. Because if our government won't step up to protect our neighbors, it will fall to all of us to do what's right and help avert this oncoming crisis as much as possible. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, let's move on. I need to announce 2 vacancies on the Correctional Work Center Board. These are 2-year terms, January 2026 to January 2028. Commissioners, I'm going to move up something on the agenda because of family emergency. So I'm going to move Sonya Stephenson up for her HR report.
Thank you, Chairman Harris and Commissioners. So I know y'all have got a full agenda tonight and it looks like some really good presentations that I hope I get to watch later. But if you look at your iPad really quick, I'm not going to cover, under the HR report, I'm not going to cover the job postings and the vacancies and the active job postings. You can look at those if you have any questions. Absolutely, you can call me at any time. As far as the snapshot goes, I'm just going to talk about just 1 or 2 items that are have increased in nature, one of which is under our audits. We did complete an audit this last month in September of the people who have security access to our buildings, and we reviewed 1,687 people to make sure that they had the right access, that they weren't being able to go into places that they weren't supposed to be, and that was in a coordinated effort with our IT division. Under our benefits section, we did process 14 retirement applications during the month of September for upcoming months in December and in January. Under the next big category would be under our HRS system. We had 220 different activities, and those are things that we're doing to increase the efficiencies of our systems for our employees, and so we're always looking at ways to make it easier for the employees to access not only the services and programs in the county, but also policies, procedures, and those type things. Under the leave, we had 139 active leaves in the month of September, and we had 34 military leaves. And we can continue to have stable military leaves under that. Under the next section that I'll talk about real quick is, I wanted to highlight on the onboarding piece, volunteer. We enrolled 28 volunteers for PAWS, which I think that was wonderful. We've not had that big of an increase in a while, and so it's wonderful that PAWS has that extra assistance helping them. Under our recruitment efforts, we received and processed 632 applications in the month of September. We sent 157 declination letters, conducted 91 interviews, and we also, for our recruiting efforts, we had 174 different posts to try to get the jobs out there for the local community and others to see. Under the reports and surveys, we had 221 motor vehicle reports. We are actually checking to make sure those individuals who are driving county cars still have a license and, you know, to operate those cars. We had 186 records requests. Under our special projects, we had an OIT user list that we worked in conjunction with OIT, and there were 895 audits for that as well. Under our Title VI, our top 3 languages that we provide services for in Rutherford County, of the many languages that we provide, Spanish, we provided 300 Spanish interpreters in the month of September, 14 Arabic, and 2 Burmese. Those are our top 3 languages that we provide services for in Rutherford County. As far as that, the remainder of these items, anybody who wants additional information, I'll be happy to address those with y'all, but I just wanted to make sure I was, you know, thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Is there any questions? We've got a motion to approve a report. Second, all right. Sonya, thank you and good luck.
Thank you. And I just wanted to thank you, the commission, as well, for all your prayers and support. I mean, you know what's going on in my family, and so I really appreciate the phone calls and the texts and the emails. It means a lot. So thanks.
All right, I'm going to move lobbyist report up, so Will, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the steering committee. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. Got some good news to report since we last met. The Federal Reserve has met again and cut rates as we expected. So that's 2 now, 1 in September, 1 in October. We have 2 more meetings coming up, 1 in December and January. Hopefully they continue this path. The reason why that matters, we think there's a direct correlation between the mortgage rates and the real estate transfer tax. The real estate transfer tax, which is what we've been talking about, not in terms of trying to raise the tax, but trying to have a share of it, 50% spent in the community where it's paid. What we know is most important for this proposal are the revenues for the state. Since we last met, we've got another revenue report in for the month of October, or it comes in October for the month of September, which was $20.6 million for the month, over estimates, 1.3 million year-over-year growth. The funding board met today, analyzed and looks at what they expect the budget to look like going forward revenue-wise. Tennessee remains in a strong position as a state comparative to other states nationally. So we've got we're in a positive situation. We hope this stays the course. Tomorrow, the governor will start with his budget hearings. So we are hopeful things will stay positive, Mr. Chairman, and our real estate transfer proposal will be hopefully enacted.
Good. So, Will, we've been working on this, 4 years?
Yes, sir.
All right, I need to be clear because there's a lot of people that are asking questions on this, and I want to make sure we answer their questions. Okay. To be clear, this is not an increase in the real estate transfer tax. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is exactly right. It does not increase the rate or the amount paid by anyone at all.
It's not creating any new tax?
No, sir, not a new tax either.
All right, so To be clear, our proposal is to spend half the proceeds on this tax locally, infrastructure projects within the county.
That is literally 100%, that's it, Mr. Chairman. It's just the tax that's being paid would stay in the county to be spent on infrastructure projects within the county. Yes, sir, that's it.
Okay, so, and then the last thing is, with the government shutdown that we're having right now in the state of Tennessee, getting so many federal dollars, is this going to hurt us with the real estate transfer fee?
Well, it's an interesting question. It depends. So in terms of home sales and real estate transactions that occur and the amount of tax that are paid, probably interest rates are the most indicative of what's going to happen, of where that revenue goes. But in terms of the overall state budget and how much money there is or isn't, certainly the state budget can be impacted in a major way by the federal budget. So that remains to be seen. I don't know what to say.
Okay. Is there any questions? All right, I need a motion to approve his report. Second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Next, we need to confirm the reappointment of Amber Brown to the Board of Zoning Appeals, 5-year term. Is there a motion to confirm? Motion, I got a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Congratulations, Ms. Brown. Next is Representative Mike Sparks on age of bus driving, correct?
Thank you, Chairman Harris and Commissioners. Y'all know I was here last week with Health and Ed. I'm sure y'all are familiar with my legislative efforts to try to help with the school bus driver crisis that we face, the shortage of drivers. And it's not just Tennessee. It's also seems to be across the nation as well. And if you know the background of what the state did, many times the state will, or a legislative body will make a decision, and sometimes it's a knee-jerk reaction to a crisis. And in Chattanooga, we had a young man that was 24 who shouldn't have been driving a school bus. Sadly, he had multiple complaints from parents, students about his erratic, reckless behavior in the Chattanooga area. Sadly, someone didn't intervene and 6 little children lost their lives. So, you know, that was a huge issue for that area of Hamilton County, and it trickled across the state of Tennessee. So, Department of Safety wanted to do something, and they took the age to 25. Remember, this guy was 24. He shouldn't have been driving a school bus. The young guy was also charged with raping a 14-year-old girl, which I define as a child molester. Somebody does that. Somebody asked me about it last week, why it related, why it was a correlation. I said, because it's called character. It's character. And sadly, one guy who was reckless affected the entire state of Tennessee, which has led to where we're at today. And so I have a little uphill battle in Nashville. I was able to get this bill passed. Chairman out of House Transportation Sub and House Transportation Full with the help of Representative Tim Rudd and Robert Stevens. The original bill was to lower the age from 25 to 21, but to try to find a happy medium, I went to 23 with Robert Stevens' amendment. And on the Senate side, it fell by 1 vote. And so I'm having to go against the 2 chairmen who passed this bill, it was their bill, and the Department of Safety. So with the school board signed off a few weeks ago, and hopefully y'all take a position. It gives me a little bit of foundation to set before the state legislative body, and that's what I'm here for. And I did include some school bus crash data. Commissioner Wilson was curious about National Safety Transportation Board or some stuff in there. And I had Representative Lowell Russell, a former state trooper, who was going to fly in last week, but due to the weather, he didn't want to fly. But he's very supportive of this legislation. If you're familiar with Lowell Russell, Commissioner Beverly, he was in a tragic or bad car wreck as a state trooper and almost lost his life. Took him 5 years to recover, but he's very supportive of this legislation. But if you wanted him here at the full county commission, if this came out, then he'd be willing to come speak. So also had a letter from someone that heard about this in Duluth, I think, Minnesota, that I included, that said a lot of these drivers are aging out. So we're having a workforce crisis. And he just heard about it in the news up in Minnesota, and I enclosed his letter. He just happened to send it to me this week. But that's what I have, Chairman.
Mike, you gave us a chart. It says age of drivers involved in school bus crashes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my question to you is, what I don't understand about this is I don't know how many represents each age group. I understand the number of crashes, but what is the average age of our bus drivers?
Look, according
I'm
to
probably, I'm putting you on the spot,
you're
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I didn't pull up the average age. It looks like it's going to be probably 50.
50?
From this graph. I mean, if somebody want to do some quick math, looks like it's 50. I didn't get to go through that NTSB information that's there because I just got it earlier. In fact, I drove to Nashville just to get it. But Tennessee Department of Safety, they're working on some more data to try to dig down deeper. Hopefully, this is probably where he's going to get it from, is what someone helped me with today that's enclosed in your packet.
So you said it failed in the Senate. Did they give you a reason why?
No, sir. And I mean, just to be blunt, if I'd had a lobbyist, it'd have passed. I mean, but I can't go work the Senate and work my own members and then fight the Department of Safety by myself. But if maybe Will or somebody wanted to help me on the Senate side, I'd probably been able to pass it over on that side. So your resolution is what's going to help me pass on the Senate side, just to be honest, sir.
Is there any other questions? I'm going to go with Commissioner McAdoo, and then I'll go with you, Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many counties will be affected by this change in the state of Tennessee?
It'd be every county, and I'm willing to tweak this bill to where it would be permissive if a county, say Davidson, wanted to keep it at 25, which is the most restrictive in the world, more restrictive than Russia and Cuba and North Korea. This is how bad this is. If they want to keep it at 25, they can keep it at 25.
So in other words, each county can keep it at what they want after it passes?
Yeah, they can go to 23 and have that option, yes, sir.
I think it's only about 4 counties in the state that do contract bus driving there, isn't it?
Say again, sir.
About 4 counties?
Yes, sir, I believe so. Yes,
And the
sir.
rest of them are hired by the county to drive buses.
Yes, sir.
So basically speaking, it will probably affect the 4 counties more so than the ones that are hired by the county, correct?
It would positively affect every county to help that shortage of drivers is what I'm after. But if a county wanted to stay at 25, they could have that option.
Commissioner Wilson?
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to share with the committee, I had questions for Representative Sparks after the presentation to the Health and Education Committee. I want to do 2 things. I'm going to read all 5 questions so that you guys know what I asked, and then I would like to see if we have any answers. At this point, and I had stated at Health and Ed, I will not be able to support this moving forward without the answer to some of these questions, and I'm going to explain why. The presentation was presented as bus driver safety, and the argument was being made that there are more crashes that are caused by older drivers than younger drivers. I could not conclude from this graph that that statement is accurate, and I'd like to give you some examples. So the graph used the age of drivers involved in school bus crashes 2020 to 2024. One side basically just does it with 5 years of age in increments. The back side just makes it a little broader by doing it within 10-year increments. Same information. What it presented was a percentage by age group of the age of drivers involved in school bus crashes. So when I studied this is, to me, since we're talking about transporting children to school, this is one of the heftier decisions I've personally had to even consider since I've been on this commission. Normally, we are working on funding and how we fund different areas of the county. This is a new area for this commissioner to figure out bus driver safety, and if the information here is warranted of my approval, that I agree with what's being presented. These were my questions. Going back to the title of the graph, that was to prove that older drivers cause more accidents than if we hired younger drivers. The first question I had was, it's titled the age of drivers. Can it be confirmed that from the data set used to produce this graph, can it be confirmed that drivers involved would, number one, refer only to the bus drivers and not any other vehicles involved? Does say age of drivers involved. Was the bus driver 40 years old and they were hit by someone that was 30? I just simply asked, can you confirm that this is only the age of bus drivers involved in the crash? That's a simple question. Here's the next four that are a little more specific. Of these crashes
Well,
being reported in the
Give me a
graph,
second. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Sure.
Do you want to answer these each question, Mike, or do you want
Yeah,
him to do the entire thing and then answer?
I mean, what was your question?
and I did email these
I've got 'em
questions
here.
to the representative's office and to Chairman Harris and Chairman Dodd days ago, just to make sure they knew what we were talking about. The first question was, can you confirm that the drivers involved, meaning that the drivers that this is making a graph of, was it only referring to the bus drivers and not the drivers of their other vehicles? It's a little vague because it doesn't say the age of the bus drivers involved. So I want to confirm that this data is 100% bus driver age, that they were the only driver considered in this.
I mean, I can just hand you what I got, the research I did, which is 20 pages of National Transportation Safety Board, and this is from a 20-something-year state trooper that's supportive. I also talked to a chief, Bud Holsey, chairman of I think it's maybe state, local, or state, and he's very supportive of this as well. But he did say, because I was asking him, how do I get more in-depth knowledge and on the data, and he just said, when there's an accident, I mean, Commissioner Beverly can probably speak to this, that the report's longer, that goes into more detail. I mean, this is the only information I can get you. I think
Right, so at this time,
THP is trying
and
to
in
get
fairness, you were given the report, but it cannot be confirmed that this is bus driver only considered in this graph. You cannot 100% confirm that at this time.
These are accidents among bus drivers. Right?
Let me go ahead with the other four. These were just observations from studying the material questions I had. The next one was, are these at-fault crashes? In all of these crashes, was the bus driver actually at fault? It could be that the age of driver safety is not a relevant question if the crashes include other vehicles that actually hit our school bus. So can you confirm if these are 100% at-fault crashes of the bus driver driving, or could it be the other vehicle? Can you confirm that?
I can. I mean, you just have to dig through the information I gave you all. It's 20 pages of information if you want to.
The other questions I had were...
Bring it up at the full commission. That's fine.
Yeah, the third one I had, and these 3 and 4 kind of the same. Without the total number of crashes, this is a percentage. And I asked, what is the total number of crashes that came from this pool of data? And what's the total number of bus drivers by age group? And let me explain. If there's a 10-to-1 ratio of drivers in an age group to the younger age group, within 3.2%, with a 10-to-1 ratio, 27.9 becomes 2.79. I can't conclude from the graph given, which is only a percentage of age of drivers included in school bus crashes, I cannot conclude that this proves that older drivers are causing more crashes than if we lowered the age. I cannot. This commissioner cannot. And I need those answered because of the serious weightiness that we're deciding who drives people's children to school. And the last question I had was last year, and I just Googled and read this information. Last year, it said that the Department of Safety was vehemently opposed to this. So my question was why? I just wanted to know why, because if the Department of Safety from the state is opposed, that's a big one for me. That means that they don't agree on changing the age, and I would like to hear from them if I were going to be involved in any form of this decision going on. I don't feel I have enough information to do that tonight.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions? Chairman Reed?
Mine's not necessarily a question, but it's an observation more so than anything. You got to understand that I grew up in a household that had one of those big yellow monsters to sit in the front yard for the majority of my life. My father drove a school bus for 46 years. He started out when he was 18, but at that time he was driving a school wagon with horses, taking children to school. But then he later started driving a wooden body school bus, taking children to school in that lower 20 range. He was the first individual in the state of Tennessee, is what I understand, had the first steel body bus. But he drove for 46 years accident-free. Even received an award for the fact that he did so. But I have to tell you that he sort of favored younger drivers about as much as he did older drivers. The reason I say that one New Year's Day, we had been out visiting someone over towards Milton, that direction, and we were coming back over the Auburn Hill, and we were run off the road by another driver. That other driver was 45 years old. Both my mother and father were injured in that accident. I wasn't, and he couldn't drive his school bus. When he went out looking for a replacement to drive his school bus, it was a younger driver that he got. He trusted him. When you talk about 25 and 23, now I don't have statistics on it, but 2 years don't seem like a whole lot to me. I've spent a lot of time with young people in my life, but if we're to the point where we're needing drivers, and you're talking about 2 years, that's sort of like splitting a very thin margin right there as far as getting a driver. Now, we can look at statistics all night, whether or not an old driver is any more dangerous than a younger driver. What you got to look at your driver and compare it to that accident that happened over there is the character of the driver and their maturity. And that has to be determined at the application. A bus driver is something different than even a teacher. A teacher has students in front of her where she's trying to discipline and do things in that way and teach. A bus driver is watching traffic. He's watching the oncoming traffic, the traffic behind him, and he also has a very large mirror in that bus watching those students to make sure things there are safe and well-being. So it depends upon the individual themselves who wants to be a bus driver. I've seen it. I've seen it in a bus and how that individual pertains to it. And I think that's where the answer is. But I think a 23-year-old could do just as good job as a 25-year-old. And I basically see no problem.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Is there any other questions? Mike, go ahead.
I have David Settles here. If Young Blood Session, if you allow him to say a few words. He's a bus driver. Raise your hand, David. He's vice chairman of school board and also drives a school bus for Metro. And he gave testimony at the House Transportation Committee and just gave powerful testimony. And he came tonight if y'all would allow him to say a word or two.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules and ask for, what's his name?
David
David
Settles.
Settles. Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Do I have a second? Second. Bring him up. Come on up, Mr. Settles. No, Pettis.
Y'all go easy on him. Okay.
Now I just recognize who you are.
That's me.
We ran against each other.
We did. But you beat me.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's your
You
opponent?
You set
Yeah.
me up.
Oh, man, I didn't
You set
realize
me
that. I
up.
wouldn't
You
have called
set
him
me up. Good evening, Mr.
Good
Chairman
evening. Nice to have you.
and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me this time. I have worked with Representative Sparks on this bill, and as a professional driver, school bus driver, I can say without doubt that, as Commissioner Reed said, that 23 and 25 is not a big difference in the age, even 21. The age of the driver being 21 does not have very much bearing on whether they're going to be a good school bus driver. It has to do with the training and the maturity of the driver. You have 40-year-old drivers who are not as mature as some 21-year-old drivers. At 21, they can take the police test and drive a police car and pull a gun on people. So, and I've been driving now for 3 years for Metro Nashville Schools. Went through extensive training. They tell you how to handle students, what to do in certain cases and instances. I take my job very seriously. Of course, I'm not 21, a little bit older than that. But it is a very serious job, and the majority of the drivers that I've come in contact with take safety as their top priority. We are the first face that those students see that represent the school system in the morning, and we're the last face that those students see in the evening driving that school bus. I feel like when the incident happened in Hamilton County, it was a very tragic incident, but I think that the state rushed to a decision to raise that age to 25 so that they could feel like something got done, something was accomplished. But as Representative Sparks has stated, we are the most restrictive state in the union and pretty much anywhere that you can find when it comes to school bus drivers. You can go to Kentucky, you can go to Ohio, you can go to Indianapolis, you can go anywhere and drive a school bus at 21 years old. You can also, at 21 years old, go into the service and serve our country. So 23 is a good compromise. This is a good bill. It will help fill some of that gap. We have a lot of drivers who are retiring, and the school bus shortage is only going to get worse. And this is one good way to address it. It's not necessarily the number of drivers who are age 45 to 55 who are involved in accidents, because accidents are going to happen. And as the commissioner pointed out, we don't have all the information on it to really drive that point home. The point is, accidents can happen regardless of your age, but it has to do with the maturity level. I was in training, and I'll close with this. My trainer is a very good trainer, and she trains drivers throughout Middle Tennessee. And she related the story to us when we were in training about training a driver who was around 40, 45 years old. And when he went out for his test, he was tailgating, switching lanes without signaling, stomping on the brakes, all these types of things. He was 45. She told him, pull this bus over. She got in the driver's seat and took him back to the training center and said, I will not pass him. These are the type of trainers that we have that train our drivers, and that's what we need. We need to concentrate on the training and not on the age. So that's my comment. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is anybody else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a couple discussions that went on when we were trying to negotiate a contract with our bus drivers, and insurance was one of them. So I know the bus drivers have the insurance now, but I know the RFP going out next year, correct? You don't have a microphone that the county or whatever, we're going to try to pick up the bus driver's insurance. Now, I know one bus driver told me the lower you drop that age, the higher his liability insurance is going to cost him. So I'm looking at that because we had to go through a lot of discussion to get a good contract that our bus drivers would even work. And I just need more information on that end. I need more information on that liability end, on that insurance liability end. I know that private insurance, the younger the age, the more it costs, and blah, blah, this. But I do need that information. Now, when the county picks up this insurance, hopefully with RFP the next year, how are we going to be involved? So I think these questions need to be answered by our risk management department on this insurance. Because that was one of the discussions I remember that we had to go through with our bus drivers.
That's a good point, but that if that's an area that could save the county money on insurance, even though you're going to have a crisis of short of school bus drivers, and weigh out that return on investment and keep it at 25 if that's what this body or the school board deem fit. But this legislation would give the county that opportunity. It still doesn't alleviate the crisis that we're the most restrictive in the world. Isaiah Heineck, he's a 21-year-old. He's right now, he's driving for MTSU, driving students. Some of them are probably 18, 19, 20. He couldn't be here tonight to testify. He did testify in Nashville. But Isaiah's dream since he was 6 years old is to drive a school bus. Mayor Marius Reed of Smyrna had him reach out to me. Good young man, loves what he does. That's what he sees his career in the future. Chairman, if I could read this letter off, if I could. This is the gentleman that sent me this letter from Duluth, Minnesota, who heard about this. He said, I was just watching the news article about younger bus drivers. He said, I own a company in Duluth, Minnesota, and I've driven a school bus since I was 18 years old, along with my two sons that work for me. With the proper training, you can employ a younger person to drive a school bus. Throughout the years, I've had many younger drivers. Your state is way behind in the times. He said, I'm 77 years old. I still work and drive. I figured when I'm 80, I'll tap out. So we need younger drivers to fill that void. He said the accident that happened in Chattanooga several years ago should not be used against younger drivers. I agree the company, Durham Services, never should have let that person drive. Somebody was not tending the store. If there's any way I can help your cause, let me know. Minnesota has always had 18-year-old bus drivers. Let me repeat, Minnesota 18-year-old bus drivers. He said, I believe our bus inspector could give you the data about younger drivers' accident rates. And he goes on to give my email. And that, Commissioner Wilson, his cell number's in there and so is his email. Maybe if you can help me track down that data as well. But I've got numerous articles I could hold up and cite. It was so bad, and I believe it was Polk County, that the school bus or the school board superintendent, vice superintendent of the schools down there, went and got a CDL and started driving a bus to fill that void during COVID, you know. But, you know, like I mentioned last week, there's an old term you hear, analysis or paralysis of analysis. I think you can analyze data all you want and tweak it all you want, but the fact of the matter is this state has a crisis. We've got a crisis of workforce development. We've got to start reaching younger police officers, younger correctional officers. Y'all gonna need a jail, you're gonna need correctional officers, teachers, you name it, we're short on it. And this is one area that's short. This is an idea that will help solve the crisis. If any of y'all have better ideas or want to submit legislation to me, I'll be happy to run it. But I know if I get this body to sign off, and I'm in front of the Department of Safety and to Chairman of Transportation, it gives me a little bit more collateral to bring up there. And I'm confident this will pass, but I'm more confident if I have y'all's support.
Chairman Phillips.
Is that better?
That's good.
Thank you. Let me say that again. Mike, is this Representative Sparks? Is this new legislation or is it amendment to current legislation?
The amendment went to 23, which passed the House Transportation on both committees and failed in the Senate by one vote. Yeah, I introduced it this year.
Amendment or new?
The amendment,
It's amendment to current legislation.
we passed the amendment at 23 with the help of Representative Stephenson and Rudd. They introduced the amendment.
This is an amendment to current legislation, right?
No, the legislation is 23 because the bill's been amended. No, I'm just asking y'all to pass a resolution in support of the age of 23.
What I'm asking, Mike,
Yeah.
is there current legislation that requires a 25-year-old, right?
Yes, today.
Your legislation amends that, and it's not a new bill.
You have to have a bill to change it. Yes, sir. There's a bill to change it, which has been amended from 21 to 23, so there's legislation.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll introduce new legislation in January at the 23 age.
Okay, so you're actually only looking to amend the wording that relates to the age.
Yes, sir, that's all.
Wouldn't it make more sense to me, and maybe I've got it all wrong, but wouldn't it make more sense
Yeah.
give them an option? What if there were counties, what if there were counties like Rutherford County that's short and other counties that are probably
Yes, sir.
say if you're short and you can't hire them, to be able to take applications from people who are under 25 to be able to check their qualifications. Wouldn't it make more sense to do that than to try to change?
Well, that's what this legislation will do. It'll give them the option if they want to be restrictive and go and stay at 25. Like I could see another county. I won't say which name. I could see them wanting to stay at 25, but the rest of the counties would probably go to 23. Probably some counties would want to go to 21, like David Settles just made. David was good with the bill at 21.
Mike, let me say that again, okay? Focus, all right?
Yeah.
Current legislation is 25. You're trying to get it down to 23, period.
Yes.
Period.
Yes, but the school board could keep it at 25 if they wanted to. That's how I'm going to apply this next year. This is not this complicated. We're the most restricted in the world. I want to go to 23. That's it.
My question, once again, is wouldn't it have a better chance passing in Nashville if you allowed people to apply when there were no other applicants under the age of 25? Never mind.
I don't follow you. I mean, this is not this complicated, folks. We're the most restrictive in the world. Let's just stick with the facts. And I got numerous articles I could start citing, read them all off, that counties across the state are short of bus drivers. I mean, I've had families call that they've had a child sitting there at the bus stop for over an hour until another
Commissioner
driver.
Beverly.
In the interest, Representative Sparks, would you entertain just a motion to defer till next month? We can get this through the commission by middle of December, ready to go for your legislation in January.
I'm at the will of this body, whatever y'all want to do. You know.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to defer for 1 month.
Yeah.
A second. Chairman Cush. Okay, discussion, go ahead.
Yes. For this commissioner, if I don't have the answer to the questions I've presented, I will be a no until The data supports what I asked for. And I just want to be clear on that. I will not be able to support it because my constituents I spoke to overwhelmingly do not want to change the age. So therefore, the data presented said older drivers cause more bus crashes. I'm just looking for that to be backed up by data. I don't think I'm asking anything unreasonable at all. I'd also like to point out, concerning Rutherford County, this commissioner is only concerned about District 10 and Rutherford County as a whole, and that I represent my district and what their current needs are. You know, Mike is looking out for the state of Tennessee. Concerning a bus driver shortage, we're going to have issues with bus drivers from here on out because of the state of the price and the cost it is for buses. But I reached out to Trey Lee, that is the Rutherford County Schools Chief Operations Officer, on Thursday, and he responded to me on Friday, and I asked these questions. Could you please provide answers to 2 questions before the steering meeting on Monday? First, what is the total number of bus routes we are currently covering in Rutherford County? Second, how many open routes do we currently have? Here's his answer on Friday morning. Good afternoon. We currently have 1 open route. I will verify to make sure, but it's a few over 330. So currently in Rutherford County, we only have 1 uncovered route as of Friday out of 330. I agree that we have a bus driver shortage issue we will be dealing with from here on out. I disagree because of the feedback I'm getting from constituents that this is right now at this time the best answer. And I just wanted to put that out there. I'd like the answers to the questions. The biggest one is I need to hear the Tennessee Department of Safety before this, or find out. I'd like to hear why they opposed it. I'd like to hear why they opposed it. And I can't be more clear about what I think is a very simple request, if I'm to support it.
Mike, can you, would you be able to get those questions?
Well, I've got the question.
Or if we send you the questions, will you be able to get him what he's asking for?
I can try my best. Y'all are way overanalyzing this thing. This is simple. I mean, I'll do whatever I can to help y'all. I represent the same people you have, but quadruple. I mean, I have a lot more, 70,000 constituents. Here's what I see in the General Assembly, folks. You got lobbyists running around like crazy. Bunch of lobbyists. Paid big bucks. Paid big money. But who's that lobbyist for that child at that bus stop? Who's that lobbyist for that bus owner, that bus contractor? They don't have a lobbyist, because you know why? They're too busy working. They don't have time to go to Nashville. All these government lobbyists that you pay for, you back there in the back row, you're paying for lobbyists. What are they doing for you? The return on investment's not there. This is not this complicated, folks. Man, it's like herding cats. It's not that complicated. And I'm trying to make a difference, and I'll challenge every one of y'all if you got a better idea, bring it up. This county's got issues, folks. You got a jail, you got schools. I don't know how you're going to pay for it. This is the bill. This is simple to solve a problem, and the crisis is not going to go away. Even with this bill, it's not going to go away. It's going to take a myriad of ideas and solutions to solve the problems going forth. And I didn't even mention the landfill. But, I mean, it's frustrating for me because I deal with people on Capitol Hill and deal with these lobbyists. Then I got to deal with somebody that's overanalyzing something. Jesus, man, this is not that complicated. Just remember the fact of the matter is Tennessee is the most restrictive in the world. I can't make this stuff up. As a conservative that seeks freedom, that wants to put people to work, that wants to help people, put food on the table, provide jobs, that's my role. 2 or 3 people can call me upset about something. I'm going to do what I think is the right thing. But thank you, Chairman, and I'll be happy if y'all wanted to roll this to next month. Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank y'all.
We have a motion, we have a second. So the motion is to defer to next month. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Let's move on. All right, we have 2 items that are coming up, Commissioners. One is Project Keystone, the other one is Twining Station. Before we get started, I have a lot of people that have called me and asked me, what is a TIF? And so, and they want to know what is a property abatement and are they the same thing? Of course, they are not. But I'm going to ask my good friend Summer to come up. And Summer, I want you, who represents the IDB board, and educate us with your great wisdom, Summer.
Now, that was quite a lead. Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, I'm Sumner Bolden. I've represented the IDB for a long time, and I'm going to try to explain this in 5 minutes. And so I may leave some stuff out, but I'll try not to. You're all probably familiar with pilots, payment in lieu of tax agreements. They've been around a long time and used in this county for a long time. The classic is you have a business industry coming in and you give them a reduction in their property taxes for a set period of time, and usually it's for a set percentage. Say the current average, I think, in Rutherford County, when we see them anymore, is 5 years, and the percentage of abatement can vary. But essentially what's happening is that when the company gets their property tax bill for that period of time, it's reduced by whatever percentage was approved by the Industrial Development Board. And that, if you'll recall, in this county, that there has to be a return on investment, if you will, of greater than 3 to 1. So for every dollar of tax foregone, you've got to generate $3 during the period of the abatement. And then at the end of that period of time, it goes on the tax roll at 100%. So you've relocated the business here, you've abated their taxes for a little while, and then you thereafter get 100%. The tax increment financing, or TIF, is kind of the mirror image of that. There is no abatement given. There is instead a capture of the increase in the amount of the appraised value of the property before versus the project versus after the project. And for a period of time, and it can't exceed 20 years, the increment is captured and then used to reimburse the developer for the infrastructure costs, not for costs for whatever they're building. Is strictly infrastructure. The statute doesn't allow anything else. And there's a not to exceed amount as well. So it's usually either 20 years or not to exceed X dollars. The mechanics of it after the project commences is that on an annual basis, both the city and the county and the municipality will collect the tax, and then whatever amount is supposed to be then paid out goes to the Industrial Development Board, and we're supposed to administer the program. And we have to get request for reimbursement for monies actually expended by the developer on infrastructure. And then we repay them for that infrastructure. And for example, you'll hear tonight that one of the projects, the infrastructure being reimbursed is for parking garages. And the other one, there's some substantial roadway improvement. It can be things other than that. It can be traffic signals, it can be sidewalks, it can be sewer, storm sewer, anything that would be a public improvement. And the advantage to that type program is that it allows the municipality and or county to get the developer to pay for the infrastructure improvement instead of the county or the municipality, whatever the case may be, having to pay for it up front. So you're getting something done without having to go to the bond market or otherwise borrow money to do it. You're getting the developer to do it. And another important aspect of that I think sort of gets lost is that the increment that's being captured is for real property only. And most of these, well, the two tonight you'll hear about, absolutely do have a retail component to them. And there's a significant amount of sales tax income that'll be generated that has nothing to do with an increment. It's just tax dollars to the county and to the municipality. And finally, unlike a pilot, in a TIF, the dedicated taxes for the municipality and the county they come off the top on any annual payment. So for instance, I don't remember what the dedicated tax rate is here. I think it's 20, let's use 20%, for example. Well, that cannot be used as part of the increment to go to repayment. That has to be kept by the county in order to pay for the county debt service. And the same is true for a municipality. So that's my Cliff Notes version of it, Mr. Chairman, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Chairman Phillips?
Mr. Bolin, thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned our IDBs are involved in a TIF.
Yes, sir.
And do they go over the same return on that investment, like the 3-to-1?
Yes. The mechanics are a little bit different in the sense that the board is not the one actually commissioning the study, but yes, it's a component of the process. And I guess I should have also said the board approves it, and the county has to approve it, and the municipality has to approve it. They all have to be on board with it. And at the very outset, there is a plan area that's designated, and it can be a parcel or it can be more than one parcel, but it's only the increment within that plan area that's incorporated into the tax increment financing.
Just one quick follow-up, if I might. The build-out, as an example, may be 5 years.
Yes, sir.
But the increment or the incentive could be 20 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it can be. It technically could be more than that, but the 20 is the max that you can do without going to ask permission of the comptroller. And we've not done that here. And so the way they're structured is it's a max of 20 years or X dollars. So whatever mark is hit first is when it stops. So if the increment is $15 million, but you reach it in year 15, well, the last 5 years it goes away.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I either was very clear or I was totally confusing. I'm not sure which. Thank you, Mr.
I can
Chairman.
take a vote if you want me to. All right, come on, Bart. Sorry for being informal. Mr. Bart Kline, please come up for Project Keystone. Go ahead, start. You need your,
Yeah,
you need that?
I got a presentation.
You have, which one you got up now? Let's go ahead and do that. Bart, go ahead, come on up.
Hi, Chairman Harris, Commissioners. My name is Madison Haynes, and I'm an attorney at Bradley Aaron Bull Cummings. Many of you may know my law partner, Tom Trent, and he sends his regards. And first here, Sumner did an excellent job kind of giving the TIF 101. I'm here as we represent Lavegne in this transaction. So we are the city of Lavegne, and so we are not representing the developer. So like Sumner said, you know, each body, that each taxing agency has to contribute or vote to contribute their increment to the project. The IDB has approved this project just kind of an overview of where we are, and Lavegne is expected to vote on this tomorrow evening at their meeting. I think that, the only thing that I would add from our experience about this project is Sumner mentioned the cost-benefit ratio that Rutherford County typically is, it requires 3 to 1. A good project is 3.75 to 1. This project is 4.85 as a cost-benefit, and it's the highest our firm's ever seen in all the projects that we've done. So that's a really exciting kind of fact to get to bring to you all. I would also add that this deal specifically has the requirement that no TIF revenues are to be paid to the developer until certain public infrastructure is completed. What that infrastructure is comprised of is kind of determined by the city's development standards for all developments. And so I believe they're in the engineering, kind of figuring out what all that is going to be. But that there will be no TIF payments of any property taxes rebated to the developer until those are completed. And they have 42 months from the time that they start to complete those. And so I think that's a really important kind of safeguard to this project, to both communities of the city and the county, that, you are using public money to pay for public infrastructure, and you don't have to use any public money until you've already got the public infrastructure. So I think I'm going to turn it over to the developer team, as well as kind of their analyst, to go over. But if y'all have any other general TIF questions kind of before we get started, or any mechanics, I'm happy to clean up hit for Sumner, but I think he did a really good job. So I don't expect that there will be. But if not, then I will go and sit back down and let the developers kind of share with you all the exciting specifics of the projects.
Is there any questions? All right, Land?
Commissioners, thanks for having me again. I'm Land Elliott, Equitable Property Company. I think last time we didn't start at the beginning, so I appreciate the opportunity to start with the beginning of what is Twining Station, which is a 77-acre development in Lavegne, Tennessee. I think the important thing with this is kind of to let you guys know exactly where it is, kind of a basic starting point. What's really impressive about the opportunity here...
You're going to have to come a little closer.
What's really impressive about the opportunity here is the fact that the city of Lavegne is putting over $40 million into the expansion of 2 road systems. One is Blair, going from 2 lanes to 3 lanes. And the other one is Waldron Road, going from 2 lanes to 5 lanes. And you can see the red dot where it says Twining Station on this map to the west side of I-24 is the location of the development. I don't know of a mixed-use development in Middle Tennessee this close to 2 major intersections coming together with the opportunity that we have formed in our alliance with the city. The opportunity here is we've got entitlements here for 164,000 square feet of retail and office space, of which 50,000 square feet approximately is going to be a grocer. We have 630 residential units, which are comprised of townhomes and multifamily. And another important point is 25% of the 77 acres will be left in either parks or green space. This is the master plan. You can see we have hired Gensler, which is the largest architecture firm in the country, to be our partner on this development. They did 5th and Broadway. So if y'all have ever gone to the food court down on Broadway, Gensler was the architect and the planner for that community. And the idea is to bring the best-in-class, world-class mixed-use ideas to the suburbs of Tennessee, specifically Rutherford County. This is our multifamily section. These are some of the renderings. This is a townhome rendering. You can see that on the north side of the site. This goes into some of the components of the location. Going into the demographics of this site. This is just a map so you guys can envision how the two parcels interact together at the intersection of Waldron and Blair. And this is the executive summary, and I'll introduce Lana Sweet, who helped size the TIF for us, and she can get into the nuts and bolts of how this TIF came together. And I think what's important about the repayment of the increment and the opportunity that we have here.
All right.
These are the parcels.
Okay, as he said, my name is Lana Suit. I'm with Younger Associates. Our offices are in Jackson and in Memphis. Just to tell you a little bit about Younger Associates, not doing a sales pitch, but you probably wonder, like, what do you do and why are you here? But we work with economic development projects all across the state. Pretty familiar with Rutherford County because I think I've been working with Sumner for maybe 19 or 20 years, I don't know. But our firm does the analysis when a pilot is passed in Rutherford County. So we work with Paul Latour and Patrick Kamek quite often. And so when Lan approached us to do the analysis for this project, we were very excited. It seems like pilots were all the rage because they were used a lot for industrial development. But when you're looking at a mixed-use development like this one that has commercial and residential and office building, you know, it's a better tool because it just lends itself better. Because in many of these projects, they're going on to agriculture land or vacant land that's maybe inside the city, and there's a lot of infrastructure cost up front. So a pilot doesn't really lend itself well for that. A TIF is a perfect tool, and you will see all across the state. Counties and cities, big and small, are using those. I know I don't like to use Shelby County as an example real often because everybody goes, oh, Shelby County, Memphis. But they have probably about 20 active TIFs right now. And so it's really a good tool to bring development that you want. Because a lot of people go, oh, I want this particular restaurant. Well, TIFs is a tool that sometimes helps you get those. So when we look at a TIF analysis, much like when we do any other impact analysis, there are two different measures that we look at. The first is the economic impact from the one-time impact from just the construction. Some people don't realize that that is a very large impact. And with a project this large, we just need to take just a moment to look at it. Now, I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you real quick, but I've tried to make it as simple as I could to digest. And the one-time impact, there's going to be about $352 million investment for the project. When that money rolls over in the local economy, it's going to generate a one-time impact of $595 million. Now, that doesn't happen in a day, in a year. It happens over the build-out, but it just happens once, so it's not reoccurring. But it is a nice boost to the local economy. It supports 2,300, 2,400 jobs over the course of the build-out, paying about $146 million in wages, and that generates local tax at $6.5 million. So that's just the one-time impact. It happens, it goes away. But what's more important to you will probably be the annual impact. So that's what we'll look at next. The annual impact, we measure it in many of the same ways as far as the measures that we have, because we want to look at the annual impact is $244 million. That was our projection, and that is when it's fully built out and everything is operational. It should support somewhere around 1,500 jobs. That would be the jobs that are actually on the campus,
in the commercial office buildings, and then that would be the other jobs that are supported within Rutherford County, the indirect jobs, the support jobs. The wages paid to those would be $51.6 million, and that's going to generate local taxes somewhere around $7.6 million a year. But there's something I want to tell you about that number. You may not be able to read it on my slide up there, but that $7.6 million does not include any direct property tax. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that because I wanted to break that out separately, because I know as commissioners, that's probably what's more important to you is that property tax. So the next breakdown shows currently what that property is generating in property tax. And we have it listed as zero. To be honest, I think it's a really small amount, maybe less than $200. So really, it's not generating very much money now. Annually, when it's fully built out, it'll be about $726,000 in property tax that would be generated. And for Rutherford County, about $2.2 million. And you can see over a 20-year period, that's about $11 million for the city of Lavegne and roughly $40 million for Rutherford County. So that would be the total property tax, the new incremental tax. So it is a pretty sizable increase in your tax base, and it would be something that I think that you would certainly want to stop and consider. So that's what we did. At this point, we calculated what it would be. Now, that's what would happen if no incentive or the TIF was not granted. So the next step is in the analysis to look at what if we decide to grant a TIF. So the terms that we used in the TIF was a 20-year term. We're withholding that debt service that Sumner mentioned. There's some admin fees that you are legally allowed to withhold, so we've included those. And then we've looked at designating 75% of the money that's left after those things are held back. If you think about it, there's a funnel and you have all this money going in. You're going to hold back some of the debt, and then they're going to designate only 75% of what's left in the bucket to the project. So the remainder of that goes to the city and the county. So even though you may be in a TIF incentive, you're still going to be generating new taxes because remember, you were only getting 200. So we're going to look and see what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and step you through what that looks like for the city of Lavegne. We'll go through that real quickly. But their admin fees over the 20-year term would be a little over $500,000. For their debt service, roughly $400,000. And then to the general fund, to the city of Lavegne, it would be $2.2 million. Now, here's the one you've been waiting for. What would a TIF look like for Rutherford County? About $420,000 in admin fees. That would just go to help offset some of the expenses related to the TIF and tracking it. Debt service, $8.1 million, and to the general fund, $7.5 million, and that's over the 20-year term. So remember, you were getting about $200 a year. So with the TIF, even though you are designating some to the infrastructure of the TIF, you're also going to receive new funds to the general fund, and that's a pretty significant amount of money. Now, we've talked about what it means to Lavegne, what it means to Rutherford County. Let's talk a little bit about, well, how would this benefit the developer? What would it look like for this public-private partnership? Because I think this is real important. So if you think about this as a clock face, that would be when we talked about designating 75% of the taxes that were generated, that's somewhere around $32 million. So I wanted to look at that in net present value. If you were spending that money today, what would that mean to you? If you were spending that $32 million today, that would have been about $17.7 million. Those funds, as Sumner and both Madison mentioned, it goes to public infrastructure, safety features, utility improvement, road improvements, and that's some of the plans that Land has for his project. And the return on the investment there is the 4.8 one that Madison mentioned earlier. So that's what it means for the developer. Think about it this way. You know, this is a good project. It's a good project for the city. It's a good project for the county, but to make it a good project for the developer, you know, there's a lot of upfront costs with the infrastructure because they can't build it if you don't have the sewer, the water, the things that are needed. So there's a but-for test with a TIF. And so but for those funds that help offset some of those infrastructure costs, this probably wouldn't make, or it would not be as attractive to the developer. So it is very important. One last thing I want to leave with you. Even though sales tax is really not a part of the TIF, I know I'm a county commissioner, just had to throw that in there. And one thing we're always looking at is what money can go to schools. And so I think it's really important if you look at the retail activity that's planned for this development, what it's expected to generate. So there's two types of sales tax that we looked at in this analysis. One is the direct tax, and that is what is captured on site, on the campus, from the retailers, food and beverage stores that are actually in the TIF district. And annually, that's about $3.2 million. The second type is the indirect tax, and that's where all those wages that we talked about earlier, they're spent, they trickle down in the local economy, and you spend your wages in Rutherford County and in Lavegne, so you're capturing more sales tax. So a total of about $4 million annually. So I like to talk about it annually because it gets big when you start talking about the 20-year term, but about $4 million annually. And as you know, half of the sales tax, regardless of where it's collected in Rutherford County, is earmarked for schools. So I think it's real important to know that most counties that I work with could definitely use a couple of extra $1 million for their school program. So over the course of a 20-year term, it's about $40 million. So I know that I have thrown a lot of numbers out there very quickly, but please know that those 6 slides is a lot better than this, 42-page set of numbers. So I've tried to pull out the ones that were most important or that I felt like that would be most important from where you're sitting tonight. So I'm open for questions if you have any.
I do. So I'm looking at you're saying allocated schools. Do you not have the school facilities tax numbers in this? Are you aware of the school facilities tax?
The school facilities tax?
Yes, it's $1.50 per foot on commercial building.
Okay, that would not be.
So that would be addition two.
That would be, that's correct.
Yes, okay. I would probably make sure
Well, put that in.
it would probably help.
And land may have that, I don't know. That was not of a part of the analysis that we included, but can certainly do that.
Yes, it is a big number for us. Is there any questions? Mike?
Thank you. I have one question on the acreage discrepancy, at least as I see it. The front cover says 77, plus or minus 77 and a half acres, okay? There's a page number?
This is going to be for you.
Okay. Well, in the executive summary, TIF proposal, it references that you have partnered with City of Lavegne for almost 101 acres. Where's that extra?
Yeah, the discrepancy there is there's additional land associated with this parcel that is under contract that will be eventually part of this deal. So that's the discrepancy you're seeing there. You need to make that correction.
That doesn't have anything to do with these numbers?
No. The 77 acres is what this is all based on. That's what we're buying. The land that we are purchasing is being purchased from the Lavegne City IDB. And that's 77 plus acres.
Mr. Chair, can you expand on any clawbacks that are built in on this? Clawbacks?
The clawbacks?
Yes.
That may be a Madison question. Clawbacks?
There's not a traditional clawback structure like in a pilot because you're not giving up the public funds until you've already gotten what you've incentivized. So in a pilot, you abate the taxes from the beginning to a set percentage. And so if what you've incentivized to happen, typically jobs, right, or certain CapEx, if that doesn't happen, then you have to have some kind of clawback or some kind of annual payment adjustment. Here, because of the timing of when the TIF payments start, you being the county and the city, will have already received the benefit of the construction of that public infrastructure before you ever rebate any of the property taxes to the developer, the city, and the county. One other thing that I noticed when I was looking at my notes here of that I didn't mention and wanted to just point out too is that there is a 75-25% split between the developer and the city and the county. So what these numbers that Lana has went through with you all is that 25% goes to the city and the county, 75% is going to the developer. And there is a maximum, as Sumner said, in this deal, which I think is reflected in what's in front of you, of like $17.6 million. So I think that the clawbacks are kind of, it's more of a market incentive clawback. If they don't finish the road, the traffic signal, you insert whatever is required by the city, then there is no TIF, and the developer is on the hook for that, I would assume, for that construction loan that they've taken out that now they're not receiving public money for because they didn't do what they said they were going to do, which is a little bit different than a TIF. It's what makes, or a little bit different than a pilot, and that's what makes TIFs really much more, I think, much more advantageous for local communities, because I think you get a lot more control than trying to chase down a clawback payment after the fact. You know, you figure out what you're going to get and to make sure that your developer has complied with the documents. And then the TIF revenue rebatement kind of kicks in.
Think about it this way, it's a reimbursement. So when he gets his water line in, he can present his receipts for it, and then the taxes could go to pay for that.
Thank you.
Do y'all have restrictions on type of businesses?
Yes, we do. We, as part of the PDR, there's a listing in there of uses permitted and prohibited. And so, like a good example would be if it's ever legalized, a cannabis store or CBD store. Wouldn't be in with this development.
What about vapes?
No, that would be considered the same.
Okay. And you're putting 40 million in on road improvements?
Yes, we're doing Waldron Road to 5 lanes, and then Blair West is a whole new road that's being extended out from the intersection of Blair and Waldron and goes all the way to Carruthers and sets up a roundabout right there, which ties in directly into this development in Davidson County, Carruthers Crossing, which has several hundred townhomes, a large apartment complex, and it's bringing those sales tax dollars into Rutherford County.
What did this pass in your city council?
So this passed for rezoning several months ago, both favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission and then a unanimous vote of support from the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And then at our last workshop, the TIF was on the agenda as part of the consent agenda. It is still part of the consent agenda for tomorrow night. It should be passing unanimous from there.
Okay. Any questions? Commissioner Wilson?
Thank you, Chairman. I have no questions. I just want to make a few comments. I mean, I've known about the project for a long time. So we like to call this particular borough of Rutherford County South Waldron. And I live on the Smyrna side of South Waldron. The mayor lives on the Laverne side of South Waldron. So I have a lot to say about this area. You've mostly heard me say, normally in a loud voice, there are at least 12 to 14,000 permits of homes coming in this area, and you hear me talk about that because of schools. And that's not going to stop regardless of this project. What we have here is an opportunity to get sales tax revenue and property tax revenue that otherwise, and this is very important, if this project weren't to happen, it's going to be residential. Now let's just be clear, when we have conversations on revenue, If you have one child in Rutherford County attending our schools, the local portion for that child is well over $3,500. That's probably going to go up. That is more than the average home pays in total property taxes. So we're already, with one child in school, and you hear me say this a lot, we're already having to play catch up with someone that does not. Anything that supports sales tax revenue dollars, and this may be the most important thing you said, thank you. 50% of the local portion of sales tax that is spent in the limits, the line of Rutherford County, goes directly to education. I cannot tell you why South Waldron this matters. We're real close to Williamson County. I'm in Nolensville in 4 minutes. I'm in Davidson County in 2 minutes, and I work in Nashville. That's why this is a great place to be. Those folks in Nolensville, those folks in Antioch, we've lost all those sales. We used to have sales of those areas coming to Smyrna. They're not. Tangier outlets opened up in Antioch. We lost it all. So we lost 50% of that sales tax going towards our education, and we were educating Metro Nashville, Davidson County kids. We were contributing to Williamson County schools. The biggest thing in this county we can do is get the message out to our friends and neighbors that shopping in Rutherford County, that local portion of sales tax directly goes to education. That helps us keep down property taxes in order to educate our kids. And it makes up that difference between the true cost of education and what their actual extremely low property tax really is. So this is a key project. And I remember talking about the importance of this TIF. And for those that don't understand the way this works, TIFs are about the public benefit, all about public benefit. Otherwise, a TIF wouldn't work. What's important here is developers in most places in the country will not build these projects without the TIF incentive, and I'm just going to give you a simple reason why. They may be projects otherwise that could be risky. They may be projects that particular areas want for their area, and the developer says, you know, that's going to be tough. We're right on the edge. The TIF is a partnership that says to them, we're in it together, and it gives them the confidence to move forward with a vision that the people in the local community, local government, local IDB, local planning commissions have. The Smyrna project is going to be massive. This is also, and I've got really some regional news, those are going to bring different people. These are going to, it's not, people say, aren't those close? If you lived in the area where I live, you realize that Williamson County folks in Nolensville, thank you, please keep coming, thank you. They drive over into Rutherford County and they shop at grocery stores all the time. This is just going to give them another reason. They're going to take that left on Waldron Road, where they normally just keep on going straight to hit Sam Ridley. Great, we got them. Carruthers Crossing, oh my gosh. I take the back roads into Nashville to avoid I-24, which I despise. When I go back around Carruthers from Laverne and I go over by Cane Ridge Park, if you haven't seen what they're building over there, it's stunning. It's just homes, 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 homes. Where do you think they're going to go to the grocery store? Where do you think they're going to go shopping? Right down the street, because I am.
Commissioner, have you been down Fly and Lake lately?
I have. And I try not to, because there's every time I go, I am going, how schools, we got to build schools. We got to pay for schools. And I'm glad that we bought, as a commission, the Lee Road property. And to me, the whole time we were discussing Lee Road, my thought was projects like this happening, and are we looking forward to making sure we have not only spots for schools, which with Lee Road we do now, but also do we have spots for EMS and fire stations and those partnerships? And I believe there's obviously conversations about where we would put fire and EMS in the future in South Waldron. So there's so many things we're not even hitting tonight that make this project for the future even better. So I'm excited about it, and I know that people in our area see the benefit for it. So I just wanted to point a few of those things out.
Just to touch on one thing you just mentioned about fire and EMS, we've been talking and working with the county EMA director, Chris Clark, and there is land set aside on this for a new fire station and EMS bay. So instead of Rutherford County having to go out and find and buy new property to put an ambulance in this area, which is already, from what I've been told by our city commissioners, is already being discussed as a need. it would be there. So that's another part of this.
Land, one thing too, I've always advocated for Rutherford first. So we would highly encourage that you would consider using Rutherford County people in these projects. We understand that there is a bid process, we understand that, but that's one of the things that we want is to make sure we keep some of these dollars here in Rutherford County. So is that something that y'all would entertain?
Yeah, so in Smyrna, we've spent, I don't know, close to $15 million with Rosso, a locally based grading contractor, and they're bidding on this as well. But yes, we give the opportunity to local businesses to participate in this opportunity.
All right, appreciate it. Is there any more questions? I'll entertain a motion to pass this to the full commission.
Chairman, I make the motion to send this to the Budget Committee with a positive recommendation for its approval as presented.
I have a second. Do I need to do roll call? Need to do roll call.
Commissioner Beverly,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo, Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cush,
Aye.
Commissioner Paul Johnson, Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Chairman Harris.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Next is Bart Kline, Keystone.
Hello, my name is Bart Kline with Kline Swinney Associates. Last week, we obviously went to property management, but this project was before you in 2024. This was approved all the way through commission. We had one negative vote, but in 2024, this was an approved project, and then the last 8 months, our development team has been working with the city to finance the project and go through the points of the development agreement and TIF agreement. So I have the same presentation that was presented to the city, and I'm going to go through that. Some of that I'm going to go through fairly quickly because it's not pertinent to the conversation. But in short, what I want to say is we're not changing the cost of the project, what we're building, what we are showing, where it's being built. All that is the same. The main issue that we're fixing is we had a $26 million TIF at a 20-year term. That has been separated into 3 different pots for 3 different sections of the project. The reason being is developer of section 1 cannot be responsible for what developer of section 2 is doing. So that is the main point of what's been going on. So first, over the last 8 months, some things have happened. Our equity partners have been established for the project. We've met with different equity groups and financing to get all ducks in a row. Basically, you've got a development that's been approved through a PUD process. And then we also have been negotiating with WG&S. So if you may remember, we are relocating and building WG&S a new facility in this project. You guys have seen all the work on Town Creek for the future park. So there's been a lot of back and forth between the city and the development team, really to get what the city wants out of the development agreement and for the developers to be successful. Many of those things are going to be clawbacks, and I'll get into that later on. But the same team is still involved with the project, Hillsborough Residential, SEC, our civil, KSA, the architects. And the players for the team are the same players that we had before. Some additional members, so Todd Seifert is here today with the development team if you'd like me to bring him up to ask specific questions. Boulevard Capital is new. That's the equity group that was added to the team, and both you guys know John and his daughter, they are handling the brokerage deal for the project. The proposed development, so it's important to note in what was approved before was 239 apartment units, 80 to 100 for-sale dwelling units, a boutique hotel of 80 to 150 keys, and retail space of 30 to 40,000 square feet. Plus, we have a Hometown Heroes program, which reduces the rent rates for the apartments and the condo sales for teachers and police. on this site. Everything was maintained, so what was provided after we designed, so one thing we've done differently, last time you saw us, we were at a master planning phase. We have gone through a full 25% schematic design. We've had a local contractor price it. We know what our numbers are, and we've been talking to our investors and banks on how to get it through. And so everything has stayed the same. We have 230 to 240 units, 80 to 100 for-sale dwelling, 115 key rooms, and 30,854 square feet of retail space. Here's the 3 sections. So everything is broken up into 3 sections based on the 3 TIFs. So we have section 1 in green. That's the multifamily. That is the Plaza Park with the bridge that goes from Town Creek across. That is also a 350-stall parking garage. That is 30,000 square foot of retail. That's relocating WGNS. Section 2 is the condo building, and section 3 is the hotel building. One thing that's very important throughout the development agreement and TIF agreement, there is clawbacks associated with the developers meeting their mark. So they buy a portion of the property, and they have to extend utilities, make it pad ready for the second portion of property. And then if they don't perform in every 120 days. So if you guys know you have a project that did not go well because of the events it went through, the city has learned from that and basically put a lot of restrictions on the front end to basically keep us in line so the developer delivers. And some of those restrictions were so restrictive that you couldn't finance the deal. And so that's what we're kind of cleaning up. We've kept the restrictions, and we found that the only thing we need to do is take those TIF and separate it. This is the previous site plan that was approved in the PUD, and this is the proposed site plan that was finally approved in PUD. So we went through a formal PUD process with the city. So our elevations, our plans, everything has been approved. We've even platted the property where WGNS is being located. This is older massing study views of the site. Here you can see the bridge that PDOT's paying for that's helping going across to the Plaza Park. Here you see different vignettes of what the development looks like. And then here you actually see the approved elevations that were approved by planning. And it's safe to mention that we went to IDB, we were approved by IDB, we've been approved by planning, so we've gone through council, and we've hit all our marks there. This is the development on the corner. This is a Class A development, market rate. It's something that everybody should be happy about having in their front yard of their city. Some more images. So for us, the way we look at the TIF for this project is we're coming to an area that's looking for redevelopment. We're coming to an area that hasn't been developed. I remember when we actually started on this project, I was looking at Darren Gore's building when he was in water, and they were looking at doing an expansion vertically. And the conversation happened is, why are we doing all this stuff? Well, because their long-term plan was to gentrify this whole area and start redevelopment. So getting the TIF to come downtown and do that is really what allows that to happen. It allows this project to pencil like a surface park deal somewhere else. So overall, the TIF is still 20 years. It's still $26 million. I'm going to show you right now the property generates $4,600 is what it generates. This TIF will be roughly $2.2 million is what it will generate annually. So even on like a deferred cost, I know we talked about that before. So to date, I want to say you'd still be getting 80 to 90,000 a year on the county side and on the city side. So it's positive in the right direction. Proposed revisions. So the infrastructure in the previous project was going to be performed by the contractor and reimbursed by the city. The city has decided to do that work, and they're opposed to go through that mess. Here's the transaction, the property that's being, the phases, so phase 1, 2, and 3, roughly 7.2 acres. So this is a very different project than what you saw. This is a dense urban core project. We got 750 parking spaces. We have a lot of infrastructure to pull out of the roads and the streets and to detangle. Existing schedule versus proposed. So the first thing you'll see in about 6 months is the relocation of WGNS. You'll see us building on that site. Then if you look at, I have a hard time seeing that far away, so I'm going to tell you, first quarter of 2027, you'll see the construction of the bigger buildings. And again, all this was written in the development agreement to allow us to start with Section 1 and then get that done, move to Section 2, get that done, and so on, while allowing the city to claw back and have something in case the developer went defunct. You're not stuck with 10 acres that you can't develop or have something happen. So overall, that is really the presentation. We had a positive outlook last week. There was some questions, and I can take on more questions for the project.
Bart, all you're doing is asking us to amend from one particular contractor, developer to 3 different sections, right? So it's not 1, it's 3.
Yes.
And that's all you're asking us to do?
Yes.
So it's already approved, just to amend it from 1 to 3?
Yes.
I mean, this is basically just your financial institution and loans wanting to make sure that the TIF is to their project. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And all the documentation's been shared with Michael Smith and Nick Christiansen. They've got the development agreement, TIF agreement. Everything's there, and all that information was provided a couple weeks back for review. We're looking for a positive recommendation to budget, and then we'll go to full commission. And we took this through the same committees and same route we did last time and felt like we needed to maintain that same conversation with the same group.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If it's not any other question, do you need a motion on this?
I do need a motion.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve this from 1 phase to 3 phase. The overall finances stay the same, and we send it to budget with a positive recommendation.
All right, I got a motion. Got a second? Second. Got a second? You need a question or second? Second? All right. Paul Johnson, second. Roll call. I'm sorry, is there any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Paul Johnson? Yes. Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Beverly?
Yes.
Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Chairman Harris?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, you see on your iPad litigation list. Is there any questions? All right. Is there any other business? All right. We're adjourned.